So happy Friday, everyone. Welcome to our bi-weekly Eastside Wrap meeting, where we discuss the impacts of homelessness on the east side of Santa Barbara. My name is Landon Rank. I'm the Director of Programs at SB Act, and this is a partnership with the City of Santa Barbara as a part of our broader South County collaborative to address homelessness. So joined by city staff, including Julie Lawrence, and we're glad you're all here. We typically start with just a couple of general announcements, and then we'll open it up for community members to share kind of areas of concern related to homelessness on the east side. And then after that, we'll go to our service providers just to hear what they've been up to in the last couple of weeks in this neighborhood. So with that, we'll go to just announcements. And I do like to start, especially because we've had some new people recently, just letting you know kind of some of the language you might hear. We do a lot of the service writers, and we tend to try and use people first language. So we'll say things like people experiencing homelessness because they are first and foremost people. Um, Sometimes people ask about whether it's better to use the term homeless or houseless. All of our data that's been collected over the last decade is shows that the majority of the people who are experiencing homelessness in this county are from Santa Barbara County. Like that was the last place they actually had housing. So in many cases, they are home, they're just without a house. But for shorthand's sake, we are still using that phrase homelessness. Um, and then just to note, mental health and substance abuse obviously come up a lot when we're talking about these populations. It surprisingly tends to be more of an effect of homelessness rather than the cause. So we just want people to be aware of that. It's obviously still a huge issue that we need to talk about when we talk about this issue, um, I think it ties into the last thing that there is not one kind of monolith single experience of homelessness. Just yesterday, Natasha texted me a photo of an individual with a baby on State Street, and then we've got people in vehicles and veterans, and it's really a pretty wide spectrum of people. Um, so just keep that in mind as we're talking about these issues. Any questions about any of that? Well, thanks for letting me get on my soapbox for a minute. Um, Just a note, we have these meetings every 2 weeks. So our next meeting will be on Friday, the 5th of September at 10 a.m. on Zoom. You can put in a save the date on your calendar. We're going to be having our next all call meeting where we're going to discuss homelessness throughout the whole South County region from Carp to Goleta on the 29th of September at noon. I'll send out more details soon. I'm hoping to have that meeting in person, but we just want to share about all the different initiatives that are being undertaken to try to reduce homelessness and some of our goals that we're working on together. Um, a couple of those are listed here. I will just note for this call, because this comes up a lot, is goal number two. Is that one of our goals is to try and get some of the top individuals with the highest acuity behavioral health needs moved into interim or permanent housing. So we've worked with the city officials and service providers from Carpinteria to Goleta to try and come up with the top 100 individuals that have the most significant needs. And these are probably people that you all have seen because they're some of the most visible and vulnerable, and often people that are getting in the most trouble. And so one of our goals over the next 3 years is to try and get more than half of those folks off the streets. So anyway, all that to say, put that save the date in your calendar. And then just a note too, we do have these business cards. I don't have one right in front of me that have information about who to call for different kinds of homelessness issues. We want to remind everybody there are a lot of different resources within the city. For example, if it's just a general, like, hey, there's an encampment that I've noticed in a creek near my house, there's a number to call for homeless outreach. If it's a behavioral health issue and you feel like that someone is in crisis, but they're not necessarily a threat to themselves or others, you would call the behavioral health hotline down at the bottom. And then always we encourage people, if it is an emergency situation, please always call 911. But we just want to make you aware there's a lot of different resources, and there's even a QR code that I don't have here that has a longer detailed list of resources at your disposal. All right, I'm going to stop talking. Are there any questions about kind of our general announcements before we turn it over to community members? Okay, we'll go ahead and open it up for community members to share any concerns or questions related to homelessness. Go ahead, Mark.
Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity for allowing me to speak. Um, my name is Mark Alvarado. I'm the executive director of the Downtown Boys and Girls Club at 632 East Cannon Perdido Street. As probably most of you know, we were in the news on Monday, KEYT, on a story regarding um, impacts that we've had with folks living in their cars between Ortega Street, Ortega Park, North Quarantina to the corner of Cannon Perdido and Quarantina right at our corner with Santa Barbara High School. And in our vicinity, we have Santa Barbara Junior High, the park, the Jehovah Witness Church, Providence High School, our facility in Santa Barbara High School. Um, this has been an ongoing issue that we've had here. We did meet with the city and with service providers back in November, and we did get an immediate response to try to clear up the situation. But as you all very well know, that it's like kind of playing whack-a-mole. You know, they'll come right back up again for whatever reasons. And the main reason really is there's the parking ordinances allow folks in this residential and vibrant youth area to park the way they do. And so what has transpired is, um, illicit behavior, human waste, um, the harassment of kids. It just runs the gamut here. And what's interesting is that there's only three residential houses on that stretch of Quarantina, between Quarantina and between Ortega and Cannon Perdido on that stretch. This morning I came out and we generally have about 60 cars parked in and around the area. Out of those 60 cars, 32 are usually identified as either abandoned or with somebody living in the car. There are folks in and around the area that'll park in this area because there's no curbside parking where they live. So they'll, like a work truck, you'll see like a plumber's truck or electrician's truck parked within the area, and that's normal. We also have a taxi cab company that parks in this area, but then they generally move by 6 a.m. But really, there's a core amount of vehicles, like I said this morning, about 32 vehicles that are just creating a chronic issue for us. Um, the other part of it is that, we don't know whether or not there's anything the city's going to do to alleviate this. We haven't gotten any response from the email that I sent to the city administrator on Monday. Um, the Santa Barbara Independent is coming today to run a story on it, and we don't get any kind of excitement knowing that we're in the news on this kind. This is not the kind of news stories that we want to be a part of. We're all about kids here and celebrating kids and what we can do for kids. This is truly a public health and safety issue. And so I'm here again, Landon. We've talked about this before. And I'm just kind of on a mission now. I have a group of parents from Providence School that are organizing. They're trying to reach out to my parents, parents at the schools, and get some kind of response from the district. This is not really going to go away until we figure out how we can help these folks find an alternative place where they can live safely and get some resources and get some help. It's a huge issue, and why in this area where it's predominantly a vibrant area for kids that come through here every day, and it's just not safe.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate you bringing this up again. Um, we don't have safe parking with us today, unfortunately, so obviously we'll need to get them on the next call that we can, and maybe have another conversation outside of that. But let's go. Can Andrew or Lieutenant Beltran, would one of you be willing to speak to what your teams are working on over there?
And let me just say one more thing
Yep.
before just anything that anybody wants to come with us to be part of a solution to address this, to help us. that's really, why I'm making this appeal to this group because you have some very good people here and I know resources are limited and I've been a part of the homeless recovery for many years and so I know the challenges, but this is just a particular issue that just needs to be addressed immediately.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, thanks, Landon, and thank you, Mark, for sharing and filling us in on your what you're seeing out there. From a code enforcement angle, for our role in the city, a lot of what we have to do is with the waste and the cleanup of the area. We've had this particularly that stretch of De La Guerra behind the junior high school where we do see a lot of the vehicles and whatnot. We've continued to address that area pretty extensively with abandoned waste cleanups and litter cleanups. But that only goes so far in terms of the actual vehicles, and the people that are in the area. So from the code side, we are working to, there's a lot of illegal dumping with those containers in and around that area. We are working to address that with Marburg. We have those being serviced as much as possible. And we're looking at next week, just in terms of, I know there's been some odor complaints and issues of adding power washing into that area to help address that. The odor issues around there. I know in terms of the people, I can't 100% speak to how we can best address that. I think that'll be more of a safe parking and perhaps something with Barbara or Lieutenant Beltran might be able to shine a little more light on that with the people in the vehicles. But just from the code side, we are putting a full press on the area to keep it as clean as possible and manageable while we work to address the vehicles and the people and the issues that are coming from them.
Thank you, Andrew.
Yeah, and on my end, thanks, Andrew. It's the same, kind of echoing a lot of what Andrew says as always, but I know his team's working really hard and same with us, and it may not be what people want to hear that it's like we're devoting a lot of resources to it. But with limited resources, it's kind of accurate. There is a little bit more that we could be doing. I'm taking some notes right now on some stuff that I'm gonna try to make some stuff happen overnight. The unfortunate thing is we're kind of confined with the law with what we can do. So we try to do everything we can within the boundaries of the law. And if there's no real law violation on our end, there's not a whole lot we can do, which makes we want to protect people's rights and freedoms, but we also want to make sure that it's a quality of life issue is safe and everything else and clean for everyone else. So we're trying to do what we can, but I'm taking some notes now on some other things that we could try to do at night with some extra patrols. But I know the CAT team, they do patrols there during the day. They do their thing, but if there's nothing really happening in front of us, there's not a whole lot we can do. And I can't really speak to anything Barbara is working on. I'm not sure. I haven't really discussed this with her recently. So
Julie, I don't know if you're able to speak at all to the city administrator's office, but if not, we can just make a note to bring this up to Barbara today.
Yes, certainly. I cannot speak on behalf of Barbara, but I will be letting her know about this as soon as the meeting is over. So I will pass this along.
Thank you.
You bet.
I'm sorry, Julie, go ahead.
No, I just said you're welcome.
No, I was just gonna make an appeal if you could get a message to Barbara or Kelly McAdoo to at least provide some kind of brief response to the communication that we've sent out. Getting zero communication from the administrative office, the media is asking me, is the city responding to you? And I hate to say no. That's not what I want the public to hear. I want the public to hear at least that, yeah, they're working on. I think what Officer Beltran said is kind of the message, right? Or what code enforcement said, that's kind of the message. And I can utilize that. But at the same time, I know they've reached out to our representative, no response. And so if we could just get something back up to the admin office, just to say, hey, reach out, say something, because we need to hear some kind of response.
Yes, sir. I will absolutely pass this along as soon as this meeting is adjourned.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
You bet.
I also just want to note too, for broader context, and this doesn't change the urgency of this issue at all. I want to be clear, but that the city of Goleta is having some pretty heated meetings about this right now as well. They have some neighborhoods that are dealing with a good number of cars. I don't know whether it's the same level as you're seeing there. And so they're having to kind of scramble and figure out what they're going to do because they're dealing with the same thing where there's a lot that's not illegal, but it is quality of life issue, and there is the waste, which is obviously a public health issue. So it's definitely throughout the whole region. It's becoming this is a really big and fast growing issue that we're, I think, going to be scrambling to deal with. So, but again, I want to say it does not take away from the urgency of dealing with this particular neighborhood. So.
Well, it's kind of a situation where, and I think, the officer said it. I mean, there's nothing that when they patrol by, there's nothing blatantly in front of them that they can address. But it's one of those situations where, not, it's just a matter of time. Something I think could happen with this level of impact that we're seeing in our neighborhood. I just think that it's just brewing for something horrible to happen, and on whoever it might be, if it's a homeless person or if it's somebody from the public.
Yep. Oh, that makes sense. Well, thank you, Mark. Appreciate you elevating this. Any other concerns or questions from the community?
I just want to do a shout out to PD. I've noticed a bunch of patrol going in and around the path area. I think it's making a big difference, and just wanted to say thank you for doing that. I watched them have a couple of interactions, and it looks really respectful, and it makes a difference. So thanks.
Thanks, Natasha. I always appreciate a shout out. Anything else? Yeah, go ahead, Suzette.
Yeah, hi, Suzette from the Rescue Mission. I just wanted to say that we are really thankful for the attention we have received from code enforcement the last couple of days. After taking contact through Barbara's office, we have seen an absolute uptick of encampments on our sidewalk in our neighborhood. We're not sure exactly why it's been so much recently, but we really appreciate that we have a good communication, and we've seen a lot of PD around too, so we really appreciate it. Thank you.
Let's hit the shout outs.
And yeah, thank you, Suzette. I appreciate that. I am unfortunately recovering from a knee surgery, and I have not been able to be out in the field as much as I would like. But my partners have definitely been working along the Yananali corridor, along with our contractor, to keep that clean on a regular basis. And we are, um, this would have been, part of my update, but in front of the El Estero Water Treatment Center there, we've had some great partnership with the with police's CAT team, to address an issue that was kind of tucked in an alleyway there that I'm sure you might be familiar with. So we've had a lot of success in that partnership, tackling that issue, and we're starting to see some really positive results. We're hoping that's working to get a message across that's not a great or a high priority location and not the ideal spot to be setting up camp. So.
Yeah, thank you. We are full every night, of course, and we've got, 20, 30 people on the waiting list just to get a bed for the night. And we're really trying to fine tune and evaluate all of our procedures and logistics to try and take care of all our people as best as we possibly can. So we really appreciate the help.
Thanks, Suzette. Anything else from the community? All right, let's go around the horn to all of our different outreach and city staff. So let's go start with Oscar from PATH.
Happy Friday. No major updates. Still continuing to do an access point. trying to engage with the people that we have of outreach. Uh, but at this point, and just doing engagement with our current active outreach participants.
Thank you, Oscar. Let's go to Lieutenant Beltran.
Yeah, not a whole lot to really fill in on, other than obviously we're still doing our frequent prim checks, overnight prim checks, and during the day in the area of Quarantina, with all the RV parking and everything like that. It's a challenge, but we're still doing what we can. It's a similar issue to what we were just talking about up by the Boys and Girls Club. Trying to stay within what we can do, but address it with what we can. And then also, Susie from Marburg actually emailed us about a few things and the area down there. So we've kind of handled a few encampments down there, addressed those. Some of them were pretty unsafe, but also encroaching on their property. And also just kind of around the train tracks, we've been dealing with a lot of stuff around the tracks. That's not necessarily something new. That's been something that's been going on for a while, but still seems to have a heavy traffic and everything else down the tracks. But nothing else that I can think of that's new down the area.
Thank you. Andrew.
Thanks, Landon. Yeah, a lot of our, our priorities have been going towards, working on what we talked about earlier with Mark and that area around the high school and the junior high. That's been a big focus, along with the waterfront. Warm weather like this, we just see a lot of increased activity down along the beach. Different issues of people moving up and down that kind of corridor and down that way. I will say just kind of overall, this is just we generally are experiencing kind of our little summer uptick here. We feel like we're seeing a lot of new faces, a lot of new people in town. I've been talking to park ranger staff. They've been meeting people from all over the country. So, I don't think it's just me that's kind of experiencing, or hearing a lot about, new encampments and new faces around town, and they're popping up in a lot of the regular zone. So, we're doing our best to work in that uptick and address the issues as we see them while focusing on these kind of priority locations. So and then the same thing along the train tracks, always kind of a hotbed there, but we're doing our best. The closure of Dwight Murphy Field has made it a little challenging to address some of the things around the creek and whatnot, just for contractor access. But we're definitely working on addressing some of those issues down around the creek and as they kind of run up through that portion of the east side. So
Thank you, Andrew. You mentioned the kind of summer travelers trend. I also just wanted to mention two other trends. Just obviously with the hot weather, people are not often they tend to move around based on weather, so that we may see people in places that we're not expecting. So as always, it's really important that you report via the SB Connect app so that we can go make sure we're directing resources to the right places. Um, and then similarly, don't have any Caltrans clearings like on the highway property this week that I'm aware of, but I know that they have let us know that there are likely going to be some more in the weeks to come. So another thing that will cause people to sort of move out of their usual encampment spots. So please help us by reporting so that we can help deal with any issues that arise and hopefully get people connected to services. Julie or Luis, anything you want to share from the city?
Nothing from Julie.
Yeah, nothing for me either. I mean, Barbara didn't give me any notes to pass or anything important to mention right now, but I mean, really just thank you everyone for your cooperation and the teamwork. I love joining these meetings and just listening to everyone come together. It's my favorite part of the day. So thank you guys.
That's great. Thanks, Luis. All right. We've gone around the horn. Is there any other just general announcements or anything anyone wants to share while we're all together on the call today? All right, seeing nothing, we can go ahead and end our meeting for community members. So we'll go ahead and stop the recording, and I'll wish you all a good weekend. Thank you all.